Welcome back, gang, to another episode of the Grunge Bible Podcast. This is episode number 124, coming to you from all over the world. My name is Chris Salona in Providence, Rhode Island, and I am joined by my fantastic, ever-true co-host, Ethan Shalloway, coming to us from...
Vilnius, Lithuania.
Holy shit.
Capital of Lithuania. And yes, no problems. I'm bringing no technical problems to this podcast.
No, we're definitely not having any technical difficulties with getting this podcast done.
There's nothing that's going to get in the way from us finishing this exact recording because, we've had a little bit difficult. This is I guess I've only been gone for, it's been about, almost. I guess it's almost been 10 days or 11 days. But
yeah, I think so.
I'm catching a flight tomorrow. The last leg in Norway. But we had planned to get this, get this podcast done. Right now, I'm at the airport hotel, leave in the morning, and we've just we were just trying to figure out if the internet is going to work or not. So that's to be determined. But
if you're hearing this, that means that it worked.
Yeah, it's salvageable. Other than that, I'm doing really well. I mean, I'm ready to, when you're in a new place, in a different place, and you can only be so long especially if you're visiting or you're not like working. You're just though we're doing some training, but you can only be a tourist for so long before you need to move. At least I can. I need to move around. Haven't been doing as much. Yeah, you just kind of want to move around. So. I'm doing really well. I'm sure you're probably the opposite. You haven't been moving around as much. So how about you, Chris? How are you?
No, man. I've just been I've been fucking slammed with work. Work has been busy. That's the thing. Like it's already August. I really I haven't done as many fun things this summer as I want to. So I really need to just wring every ounce of fun out of August that I can. So hopefully I have a big month. It's starting off pretty solidly. The day this episode comes out on the 7th, I'm going to see Queens of the Stone Age with the boys over in Connecticut. So that'll be a good start. But yeah, we just gotta get out there a little bit. But I'm been working so much, it's been hard. But that's no excuse. So I'm reprimanding myself in front of the people. So accountability,
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Queens of the Stone Age. That'll be really interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't ever coordinate a trip to go see them or hey, let's buy tickets to this. But I was asked and I was told hey, we're all going. You want to come? I was yeah, I'll get a ticket too. So I'm just being a come with guy,
You're a passenger.
Exactly. It's fun being that way sometimes. I've been the event coordinator many times, so it's nice to kind of sit back and just keep my hands inside the vehicle.
You've been to PGHD Weston for so far too long.
I've been Daryl Weston, Director of Operations. Dude, D West. Did you see, Ethan, did you see Penny Samaya is leaving Pitt?
I did not, but I feel like I've had this conversation once before with you, so I guess he hasn't left before.
No,
but
so
where's he going?
He just took a job to be the vice president of stadium relations for the Buffalo Bills. So that sounds like a pretty big job. But we love Penny Samaya.
Cool.
High five and a smile. It sounds really cool. And he's getting out of Pittsburgh.
That sounds really cool. Yeah. Buffalo, that'd be cool. It'd be cool to mess around live in Buffalo for a little bit.
Absolutely. So in Buffalo, Buffalo is in New York, and what we're going to talk about today also occurred in New York, as you could see by the header of the episode and the title, and why you clicked on this maybe. We are going to talk about Woodstock 94, so the middle child of the big three Woodstock events. I think we talked about 69 a little bit. We definitely talked about 99 last August. So each August we're good for a Woodstock episode, and today's your lucky day, and we're going to talk about Woodstock 1994.
Yes, and this is the 25th anniversary. And really, it's I don't know. I found it kind of surprising that, I guess there was a few things in between that kind of had the name Woodstock associated with, but this is the second. Yeah, more impromptu. This is the first real run at doing another festival, and that kind of surprised me. I thought maybe they'd have a little bit more consistency, but maybe not. just considering how all of these events went
Yeah,
and
and
how
like
they
we'll get
transpired.
to it. Like I think it
Yeah.
should have been a one-off thing in 1969. Like that's one of my chief
Do you?
criticisms of 94, 99. Yeah, absolutely. We can
I mean,
get
definitely after
into that.
'94. Yeah, we'll get into it. We'll get
Yeah,
into it a little bit.
yeah. First, because
But if you,
we have to start the episode off with a little bit of gratitude, right?
we do, yes, we do, especially during these times of the summer. We need a little help from our friends, and that's why we have our support system and the lovely Patreon support patrons that we have. There's a bunch of different levels you can get in at, being the $2, $5, and $10 levels. And I was just talking to somebody the other day about what is it, Matt and Shane? The podcast Matt and Shane.
I believe so. Yeah.
So they have. I brought him up, and he's asked me if I listen to him, but he says he follows him on Patreon. He actually saw Patreon on my phone and was like, "Oh, who do you follow?" I was like, "Yeah, it's kind of weird. But we have one. We have one for the
people give us money."
Yeah, but he gives to them, and they are the most subscribed Patreon out there, and they have like 65,000 people on their Patreon.
Oh my god,
which is crazy.
Dude, the tax man must have a field day with them.
Yes, I don't probably. So they make like all their money through Patreon, which is, I was like, they should just get rid of all the other sponsors, even though they would never do that because then they have multiple incomes. But
free money.
But that's the idea. You want to be completely supported by the people, which is what we are, Chris. We don't have any business. We don't have any businesses out there.
No. Our Patreon supporters are funding this enterprise, and the world is watching.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of people that are standing by watching our Patreon supporters fund this enterprise, and they're reaping the benefits. So, if you've been listening to us for a long time, I think now is the time to try to, as we say, get some skin in the game and support us. And Ethan, I'm happy to share with you today, and I'm happy to share with everyone today that we can ring the bell once again. The streak continues. We have a new participant and a new member of the $2 tier over on Patreon, and I would warmly like to welcome Russell Emery to the fold here. So Russell has become a $2 Patreon supporter between now and the most recent time that we recorded a podcast episode. So thank you, Russell. We hope you're enjoying the podcast, and we are very grateful that you chose to support us, because as Ethan said, we are funded by the people, and the more people that fund us, the better it'll be. Russell joins a large category of individuals. Pulling most of the weight, obviously, would be the top tier, the $10 per month members on Patreon, and I would like to thank them at this time. I would like to thank D-Boat, Gochu John, Eric Berry, Sherry Matthews, Epona, Julie Van Siever, Corden Stewart, Keith White, Granny Grunge, Eddie Vedder got me through my second divorce, Brother Nature, Faith Bittner, Captain Hightop, Alex Long, Seattle 4 Fanboy from New Jersey, Fresh Tendonitis, Black Hole Sean, Chris LSMS, Nikki 6, Kara K, Doug Endy, Millie, What the Fuck is Up Denny's, Rachel Corning, Lauren Irene, Jamie Lynn, Fuck Soup, The Blue Owl, Carlene Salona, Alexis Shannon, Marianne, and Jade Mercado. So thank you to all of the individuals that support us, and welcome to the Patreon, Russell Emery.
That's amazing. I love hearing the news of getting new people to step in, whether it be one of the 3 tiers, or just in general having more comments and dialogue about the podcast. It's been really cool. I feel like it's kind of been on the move the last month and a half. So
yeah, we're going somewhere, that's for sure.
That's right. So yes, Woodstock. Shall we get into it, Chris?
Yeah, I think we should get into some Woodstock. So
Mudstock.
Yeah, Woodstock became Mudstock very quickly.
If you're watching on YouTube, Chris and I it's the summer heat and it's Mudstock, so we have our shirts off because we're in concert goer mode. So
exactly,
that's why we're doing that. And it's hot in our
Woodstock. Roots. Yeah, you got to take the shirt off because the rains came and the muds came. But Woodstock 1994, Ethan, as you mentioned, it was to mark the 25th anniversary of the original Woodstock, which occurred in August of 1969. So fast forward all the way to August of 1994. Originally slated to be August 13th and 14th, 1994, they went ahead and they added an additional day on Friday the 12th to round things out once they were selling a shit ton of tickets. Woodstock 94 took place in Saugerties, New York, a place just outside of the town. And it was a little ways away from the original festival site. And obviously, I think a lot of us know the lore about the first festival and just kind of, how it ended up where it was. So this one, was planned for, upstate New York. I feel like most people who aren't from New York or aren't from the Northeast, like there's Manhattan and then there's just like, oh, he's upstate, like it's up somewhere.
Everything else.
So yeah, so like there's no difference. Like, I mean, like I hear people, like I meet people and they say they're from Syracuse. I think they're lying. Like I don't really think Syracuse is a place. Albany, I'm not sure really exists. Buffalo, I don't know. Like you
Definitely
said, I
not
don't know where
from
Penny's
there.
going. No, it's I think
Yeah, you maybe you went to school in Syracuse, but you're not from Syracuse.
no people aren't from upstate.
No one,
either.
people aren't born there. Yeah,
Exactly. I just don't know what goes on out there, except once every 25 to 30 years, there's a music festival that implodes.
Yeah.
So, and this was one of them. Although this implosion was not as sinister as Woodstock 99's, and it has not been as romanticized as Woodstock 69, the original Woodstock, obviously. But I think anytime you have some of these large scale type events and you're trying to regulate things, like it's just impossible. So they sold tickets. They sold 164,000 tickets for this 25th anniversary Woodstock in 1994. By the time it was all said and done, they estimated that somewhere between 350,000 and 370,000 people made their way in and out. Like when you have that many people, like fences, like you can't do the fence thing. You can't charge people. Like you just gotta let them in. And that's what happened in 1969. Like people just showed up and it was great.
Yeah. So like, I just don't understand. It's like hard to fathom that something could double in size, more than double in size. And I guess it's just because it was called Woodstock. Like, I'm surprised it doesn't happen on other festivals. Like, that's significant. I mean, that's 2 times the amount of people sold tickets for. I don't even know. It's like really hard to kind of like think about how just people like overran this one specific concert. I mean, I guess the artists were good on the list, but I'm just, I'm still surprised. Like 350,000 people.
Yeah, it's really incredible, and like from a logistical standpoint, like I can't imagine that anybody at any point in time would ever be surprised that like something like that would happen, and like the fences would come down or people would cut holes in the fences. Like, you know how big of an area that has to be to house 160,000 people, let alone 350,000. Like how many security personnel do you have, and like, when push comes to shove, if you're paying them $7.50 an hour, as they undoubtedly were in 1994, like they're not going to be super motivated to keep that fence up if people are starting to shake it or what have you. Really diligently search for cannabis and alcohol products that people may be bringing in. But it's just one of those I feel like that's just kind of that's just the price of admission, when you try to put something on like this. And at the end of the day, obviously, anytime you have a major ticketed event like this, I mean, it's a cash grab, right? Like that's what we're after.
Speaking of numbers, I just remembered something. One time I was watching, just because you said all these people, I was watching a show with Gordon Ramsay, and he was talking to it was like a cultural. I think it was a chef of Asian culture, and he said that he had one time cooked for 50,000 people. And I was trying to.
It's like Jesus with the loaves and the fishes.
And Gordon was like, Gordon was like, "Oh wow!" And then like they went on the next day. I sat there and I was like, "No fucking way! There's no way! There's no absolute no way!
Bullshit,
dude. You can't make. There's nothing you can. You give me 24 hours, I can't cook for 50,000 people. It's too much.
What are you cooking? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, even if you had like the whole cafeteria full, oh my gosh, it's just
the only thing
logistically not possible. And then you think like you said, this is 7 times that. And even if you were staffed correct, like it's just, it seems like an incredible amount of people.
There's only one way. There's 2 ways. Well, it depends on what your definition. There's 2 ways. Just massive amounts of soup or stew. That's the only way you could do it.
Yeah, but like, okay.
But then, I wouldn't count that. Like,
if you had one line, if you had one line, I mean, how many minutes are there in there? 60 minutes in an hour. I mean, that's at one every minute would be, it's
You'd
24
be
hours.
falling way behind the pace.
Yeah,
You can only do 40. If there's one a minute, it's 1,440 people a day. So,
multiply that by 50 person a minute.
in 20. It's unbelievable.
It's 50 people a minute, basically. I don't know. But it was so funny because Gordon couldn't say anything because it was like, here's my dad. Like, he's where we got all the recipes. And he's like, I once cooked for 50,000 people. I know what I'm doing. I'm like, anyway.
This is, I think we need to do an episode on that. That's serving 34 people a minute, Ethan.
I'm going to find it. I'm going to find it. Okay.
That's unbelievable.
So back to Woodstock. Back to Woodstock. Yeah, you're talking like, it's just logistically not possible. I mean, and especially back in 94, where even if you were prepared for that, I don't really know how. Like, I guess nowadays it could be a little bit better, but they still get pretty out. Concert or festivals still get pretty. I mean, pretty out of hand.
There's obviously like it's always so. As long as there are live events like that, there's going to be dangers that are inherently possible when things like that happen. Obviously, I think a couple of years ago there was the that incident where people lost their lives at the Travis Scott show. There's Pearl Jam at Roskilde. There's been so many instances of just general safety issues, and obviously, as we talked about, in 1999 with Woodstock, all of the horrible criminal things that people were doing to one another. There's anytime you get people like that together, like the mob mentality is always needs to be held at bay, which they were able to do in a lot of ways, I think, in 1969 and in 1994. I mean, this one was just muddy and it was unregulated in that way. And I'm sure there were bad things going on, but reputationally and historically, like there's not, readily available, I think, like information on things like that. But as it comes to the music, like anytime you have an opportunity to do this, I think it's really special just because, like, where else in the world are you going to be able to see this many musicians in a weekend, for example, outside of like a Taylor Hawkins tribute show? Like that's the pinnacle. That's like the most musicians that I'll ever see, like in one setting in a period of time. So it's weird for me to think that like something like this happened and like that many people were there to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that if it was, I want to say I would have went. You know what I mean? For sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. I think we'll get to it. Henry Rollins makes a remark about it, which is very true. It's like the most true thing I think said about it. Like if he was 18 and had the stamina, like you go to a mud-ridden concert for 3 days, dehydrated, whatever. But like in your 30s, no. But maybe when you're younger, like. Because that's the time when you're young, it makes sense. Well, nothing doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like you can do whatever you want.
You can always rationalize anything.
Yeah. So these things always like. I mean, obviously, I wish it would have been sweet to be at it. Like I just saw a video of the guy was completely covered in mud. He's like, best time of my life, and they'll remember that forever. But nowadays, I don't think I would ever do it. Yeah, absolutely.
You think so? Or like, because like I could see it going two ways. Like, either he like unequivocally meant it, or he's in way too deep and like he has to say it. He's like
he didn't look like he had.
No, he looked like he meant it. I saw the same interview clip. It's always interesting. And with this one, like there was the advanced knowledge, there was the foresight that I don't think you necessarily had in 1969 with the original Woodstock. It's like, hey, because Woodstock, it wasn't in the cultural lexicon in 1969. And it's like, oh shit, like they're doing a Woodstock 25 in 94. Like, are you going to go? And there's a really famous clip during Blind Melon set as it relates to the price. So tickets were $135 a piece for the whole weekend. And Shannon Hoon, he gets on right before they play Soup, which I think they opened with. And he's like, I've been listening to the radio and watching the news, and there's a lot of reports that you people out there are engaging in a lot of distorted behavior. And then he goes on to say, well, for $135 a ticket, you guys can distort anything that you want to distort. I mean, dude, $135 for the lineup that we're about to discuss. I mean, you pay that every time. The only thing, like, honestly, like I would. The
addition of a 3-day concert for $135.
Yeah, like you get the Friday night in addition to Saturday and Sunday. I mean, and then you just get covered in mud and excrement probably, and just whatever the case may be.
So basically, it just rained on Friday, and that set up the mud for the rest of the weekend, right?
Well, there's no way to get the mud out of there, and it was hot
That's
too.
what I
So
mean.
you get the crowd, the cooling the crowd down with hose water, obviously,
Mm.
and that doesn't help. And certainly, by the time that you get that many people around, I mean, things are going to happen. But Ethan, how about let's get into it a little bit. Let's start,
Mm-hmm.
as we should with the Friday lineup, and we'll just talk about maybe some of the acts that stick out to us.
This was the one. This is the day that was added. It was originally a 2-day, and they added Friday.
Mhm.
These are the additions, and there's still some good ones, obviously.
Oh, absolutely. And I think like in its own way, just as much as 1999 was, this is such a great case study in popular music of the time. Like they really did a good job with securing different talent. And
This was super diverse.
It's
Yes,
super diverse as you get into it.
Very diverse.
Yeah, and it's cool, as you go on. We'll get into some of the later days. Like they had some of the guys and some of the bands who played in 1969 come back for this, and it just kind of ties everything together. But Ethan, who from the Friday slate, who stands out to you?
I'm looking at the list right now, and I think that obviously Collective Soul. I think Collective Soul would be my. I mean, Sheryl Crow's on there and live.
Young Sheryl Crow. This was before I think a lot of her hits.
Blues Travelers on there, and then Candlebox and the Violent Femmes. I don't know. Out of those five, I don't know who I'd want to see most. I mean, maybe Blues Traveler, but I feel like Collective Soul. I think I would want to see them when they were kind of rocking during that time.
Yeah, and they also played at Woodstock '99, as did Sheryl Crow.
Yeah.
But Candlebox's set at Woodstock '94 was really good, and also Live did a set that day.
Yeah,
and they were pretty incredible. I mean, Ed Kowalczyk back in the day, like I mean his vocal part, and he was dressed like we are right now, no shirt, and he just goes out there
as always, dude,
and just belts everything out, Yeah,
I guess knowing I've watched some performances from that his set, their set. And that one's a really good one for that band. So I guess I would like to, that one. We know that it went really well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. This is just what happens when you podcast from the east coast of the United States and Lithuania. So we're gonna leave that in. This is just kind of the way that it happens.
But day one was it seemed like it was kind of normal. Like I said, that was when the rain and the mud came in. It was day one, so nothing like, it got crazy the next 2 days. That's where it really started getting out of hand, I think.
Yeah, I think things really get moving, both in terms of the, what the festival came to be known for, but also just in terms of the notoriety of a lot of the performers, obviously on Saturday. In particular, I would say the main stage has some really incredible, that north stage has some pretty incredible acts that span a lot of different qualities, Ethan. I mean, we'll just read through them right now. So on that north stage on Saturday, we had Joe Cocker, Blind Melon, Cypress Hill, the Rollins Band, Melissa Etheridge, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Nine Inch Nails, Metallica, and Aerosmith. And just a mashed up stew of musical acts. I love the fact that Joe Cocker was there. In my opinion, I mean, he gave one of the greatest performances from Woodstock in 1969. Up there, just absolutely
he was one of
incredible.
the few repeat offenders. I don't think there were very many that were in 69 and I think 94.
Yeah, he was back. The band was back in their iteration of that time. Country Joe McDonald was back, I think, and I think Santana was back. I mean, you gotta have Country Joe. The Fish weren't there though. It was just Country Joe McDonald. The Fish were not there, and it's crazy. Yeah. So like that's the lineup that we had on the north stage, and on the south stage we had acts like the Cranberries. The Cranberries were playing that day, and the band obviously, as I just mentioned, and Bob Weir joined the band that day. Which was pretty great.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I gotta watch some. I gotta watch some video of that. I love the special guests, and that brings us to our next one. So Primus also played, and they had a special guest come on, Chris.
Yes, they did. As a matter
someone
of fact.
who obviously we love, but Jerry Cantrell was out there and played along with them on one of their songs. It was blanking Harold. No,
yeah,
blanking.
It was Herald of the Rocks. Yeah.
Herald of the Rocks, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the Alice in Chains were planning on playing, correct? I know they were
Mhm.
asked, but he had to pull out because of just the health
Yeah, so
related issues with
they
Lane.
had, they had pulled out a good bit before the festival actually, came down to the wire in August. But originally, when the original marketing materials and whatnot went out, and the headliners, were announced, Alice in Chains were among that. But obviously, 1994 was not a year that was very kind to Alice in Chains, in particular, not very kind to Lane Staley. So they did not do much performing at that time. I think they only played a couple of gigs like early in the year, and then we didn't really see them again until Unplugged. So, and that was in 1996. So it's really cool that Jerry was still there, and just like how cool, like I love like how all of the different areas of this era kind of all intertwine, and the fact that like Jerry Cantrell did take the stage with Primus is really, really cool. And if you follow the Instagram page, you've started to notice on Sundays I've been in the habit of posting a Primus video. I think we're up to 9 or 10 weeks in a row on the Primus on Sundays. So I might have to post this week. I might have to post the Herald of the Rocks Woodstock '94 with Jerry Cantrell. I mean, Jerry Cantrell, I mean, his versatility. I mean, he could do it all. I mean, he could
do it all.
He could play with anybody, and he can certainly play with Les Claypool. I think the Primus set actually had one of the moments that I think has lived on in terms of just the way that this festival is remembered. So Primus,
I mean, they have the song.
They have the song for the occasion.
For the occasion,
Yeah.
they have "My Name Is Mud," and I mean, it's just absolutely perfect. They obviously were going to play that, and that obviously got some people really excited to potentially throw some mud onto the stage. And that's what they did. And that's kind of where it all started, I think. Yeah. Like, what are you supposed to do when they start playing "My Name Is Mud"?
Exactly. I mean, that was the call to arms that everybody needed. And the fun piece of trivia, I think it's total bullshit, but Les Claypool said that 20 years after this show, he still had mud stuck inside of his cabinet for his bass guitars, which I'm calling bullshit on. But like,
oh yeah,
it's something that you have to say. Like when something like that happens,
feeding 50,000 people.
Yeah, that's like the stuff that like your grandfather used to say. It's like, oh well, like when I used to play. When I used to play baseball or like pickle with my friends, like I threw a ball so far it went on the top of old man Jackson's roof and it's still up there. Like,
this is the original glove that my granddad used. It's been in the family for 80 years.
Exactly.
Haven't retied it once.
Yep. Yeah, those are stories that like I hope that
you have to tell your kids.
Yeah, I hope that when the situation arises that I'm able to like fabricate a story like that I have the wherewithal to do it, because like those types of lore events, like Ethan, we should really have one as it relates to Grunge Bible, like as the way the page started. Like we should have like a total like just batshit like probably not believable story, but we should stick to it.
Yeah, it'll be semi-true, which is what.
Right.
Well, that's all we need. We just need a little bit of truth. So we'll workshop it after this.
Got to sprinkle a little bit into it. Ethan, as it relates to this Saturday set, I've been, for as long as I have known Blind Melon, I've absolutely loved and adored their set. And Shannon Hoon, obviously, coming out on the stage, most likely under the influence of some sort of hallucinogenic properties. Most likely. Also wearing his girlfriend's white dress, which I think was really, really cool. Shannon was a crazy cat, man. But that set that they did that day was just rocking. You had Danny Clinch popping in to play some harmonica for change. Yeah. And that was a really cool moment. They played the ripped away slow version of No Rain before they went into No Rain. They played
posted a lot of that.
Yeah, I've posted a lot of that. I mean, some of my favorite moments of Shannon Hoon. And it's really cool that like, they were for a band that was so known for just one singular song, to be able to take the stage in front of that many people, many of whom I'm sure only knew Blind Melon from maybe one or two songs that they might have heard on the radio. And for them to be that charismatic, and for Shannon to seize that moment in his own way, I think was really, really cool.
Absolutely. Like I said, we go back to that one a lot. I think that was kind of when I first got into Blind Melon. I think that, you look that up and kind of comes up first on the YouTube, and watching the slow version of No Rain, or like you said, Change, and it was a really good performance done by them, and just fun, because it's different. It was very controversial that he was wearing the dress, but I think that he looks great in the dress. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
He had the long hair. It looked just it looked like Shannon Hoon,
Yeah, it was
But I
Shannon
know
Hoon.
that, I'm sure during that time, it was a little bit harder to
Bit
believe that
different.
somebody would do that, but
Yeah, but
whatever.
just
It makes sense.
all the more cool that he did it though, just to throw conventional practices, to the wind
Right.
and just be who you want to be. And that's, I think,
Yeah,
something that I hear through Blind Melon's music a lot.
Yeah, they're probably one of the. I mean, if we're talking about, we go back and listen to it, because when we talked about doing this episode,
Oh yeah.
Blind Melon comes to mind, Green Day's performance come to mind, and I don't know, Red Hot Chili Peppers or something, but basically like a few different ones. But that's always one that sticks out.
Yeah. In preparation for this episode, I watched the Rollins band's set from that day, and Ethan, let me tell you, I was blown away.
Really?
They
yeah,
play
Henry Rollins, man, is
dude. Incredible. They play a song during their set called "Right Here Too Much," which I think that was the first time that they played it live. And it's so fucking cool. And like they're all on the stage with their power stances. I mean, Rollins is a big fit guy, and he's on there just like taking it to everybody. And it's just like, it's really cool that the same stage saw the likes of the Rollins band and Crosby, Stills and Nash and Joe Cocker, Blind Melon, Melissa Etheridge, one of the preeminent, songstresses of the 90s, was also out there too. But yeah, dude, the Rollins band, definitely a highlight of mine. Metallica, Aerosmith, they've never done it for me, so I've not really spent much time with their sets. But another band that, unfortunately, 2 weeks in a row, I'll mention them on the podcast. Top tier Patreon supporter Rachel Corning has labored meticulously to get me to become a fan of Nine Inch Nails, and I'm closer. I'm further.
Keep trying.
I'm further along the path, but I'm not there yet. And
let's talk about them for a second here.
We gotta talk about some Nine Inch Nails.
So she's been pushing that for you, huh?
Oh yeah, big Nine Inch Nails ambassador.
Has she told you to listen to their 94 set list?
Yeah, so if I remember correctly, last year, because I don't think we ever really posted much Nine Inch Nails on the page, it was her birthday, which, Ethan, oddly enough, is August 5th, which is tomorrow. We're recording this on the 4th. And her birthday request was, yeah, exactly, happy birthday. And her birthday request was that I post, I forget which song, from their Woodstock 94 set. And that was, honestly, that last year, that was the first time that I had watched their Woodstock 94 set. And like, I don't know, I don't know how to describe my feelings about it. And it's just like Nine Inch Nails.
The performance "Happiness and Slavery" won the Grammy Award for Best Metal Performance in '96. So maybe that's that's the one. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I think we posted Nine Inch Nails. Have you ever? Did you say you have posted them on?
So I've never posted. I did for Rachel's birthday last year, and just recently when I went to a show with her, I started 2 Nine Inch Nails songs that I like so far. "Last" and "Everything" are 2. I'm coming around on them, so maybe talking about them. Dude, no, it's, as far as I'm concerned, that's a Johnny Cash song. Sorry, Trent. I
listened to them like a very, very small amount when I was in high school. Like, I don't even remember, but I remember like kind of because I wanted to be edgy, and I thought, I heard 9 Inch Nails.
Right.
But they had the highest, they called it the highest density, largest crowd basically, which is surprising. And like you said, it's kind of a good case study to look back and see how big these bands were. I heard somebody the other day.
Were into. Well, I mean, the Downward Spiral had come out earlier that year, so I mean that was obviously a really, really big draw there. So, I think that's definitely part of it. But yeah, it's interesting always to look back.
Have you watched The Bear?
No.
The TV show? No.
No.
I mean, we did talk about this. Are you against it?
I don't know anything about it. I don't think.
So it's based on it's a family owning a restaurant in Chicago. Okay. But the soundtrack is really great, and they play a lot of Ari.
This isn't the one that Petey was telling us about, right?
Did Petey bring up The Bear?
No, he brought up another one to us that.
Yeah.
I think I lied once again, as I do, and said that I'm familiar with
it was a movie. He brought up Dirty Work. I know that.
Okay. Yeah.
Or whatever. So no, The Bear. But they play a lot of. It's really good. It's 2 seasons now, and the second season came out and kind of blew everybody away. Really good. They had the cameos in the second season. There were some really good ones, but I heard some people talking about that, and they were like, comeback player of the year, like really, really helped REM out because they played a few really good songs and they were perfect for soundtrack. And he's like, no, So people forget that REM was like one of the biggest bands in the world for a good stretch of
Dude, they
5 years.
were humongous.
Yeah,
Michael
REM was
Stipe
huge.
was on top of the world.
REM was huge, yeah, and like people forget Nine Inch Nails was really big.
Yeah,
and I love thinking about that too, like because 5 years is not a long time. It's a long time, but I can understand where probably throughout the years it maybe get lost. But like, no, that's a long time. If you're at the top of your game for 5 years in anything like the music world, I mean, that's really significant. And a lot of these bands, I mean, they had really good runs, and just because they're maybe not played, they're just like Petey said, there's so much music out there. It's unreal. It's so hard to give your time to listen to new artists and new bands.
It's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming to even go back and listen to the old stuff because there's so much of it. But that's a really good point, Ethan. I mean, when you're on the top of the mountain, I mean, listen, like there's not a lot of room to balance on top of that mountain. So for the fact that you can get up there and rule the day for even a couple of years, I mean, is really, really impressive. And Nine Inch Nails, they were definitely up there. And this performance, obviously, I think with a lot of people being there to see it. Also, they get major points from me for wrestling in the mud prior to taking the stage, despite whatever adverse effects that it would have on their performance. But that kind of cancels out any negative feelings that I may have towards their music. So maybe on August 5th, in honor of Rachel's birthday, I'll watch the set in full, take it in, and I'll post some of it. So
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, dude, Saturday, like for me, like that Saturday set, that lineup was like the crown jewel of this festival for me.
This one was so good. Who would you want to see the most then?
The most from Saturday, dude. Honestly, like if I could be there for like a few hours, I think I would want to be from the beginning. So Cocker, Blind Melon, Cypress Hill, and end with the Rollins band. Like I'm in on the Rollins.
That's a great
now.
four.
Yeah,
that's a great four band run right there.
I'm not particularly fired up about Metallica.
But you're forgetting about the band and Primus on the band.
I mean, Richard Manuel had been dead, so is it really the band? I mean, it would have been Levon, so and he's obviously Levon, Rick Danko, and company.
I think you're right. Those four right there, like they give you a good mix because you got Cypress, you got the Rollins, the heavier stuff, and then you got that's really good. That would have been really good. Yeah, I second that. I think you're right. Even though Metallica would be fun to see at some point, but
the days are gone.
Not there. They're gone. Even in '94, you got to think.
No, '94 they were still there. I mean, Ethan, I don't like Metallica. I don't like Metallica.
All right, moving on to Sunday.
Yeah, let's talk about some of these bands.
So this is where. I mean, this is the last day of the concert, so it's getting pretty out of hand. I think the mud's really rolling, and this is where the legendary Green Day, just super muddy.
Oh yeah,
craziness is going on. But looking at the North Stage, so we got Porno for Pyros. I love that they come up all the time. I would have loved to see Perry and them.
They're playing in Boston later this year. And I should just turn this into the Rachel Corning episode. Rachel Corning's going, and she told me to buy a ticket, so maybe I'll have to buy a ticket.
Oh my gosh, when is this?
I think it's in November or something. But like Porno for Pyros,
everything's in November.
They last played they played shows in like 2009 or something. So like they don't do it that often because normally Perry's with Jane's. So I might have to go see Porno for Pyros.
My gosh, that's amazing,
yeah, man. That's a standout, though, for sure.
Yeah, and then we also got Red Hot Chili Peppers, who, those guys. I think they're just massive at the time. They play in '99, obviously the headline, and they come out in the all light bulb get up, which is pretty awesome. I love that. I wish, and they did the Jimi Hendrix thing too, right? They all dressed.
Yep. Yeah, they wore like Jimi Hendrix setup. Outfits. Yep, exactly. Peter Gabriel. Yeah, I was just going to say, what I really appreciate about Sunday is there's a lot of throwbacks, a lot of old war horses that came out for this one. We've got Country Joe McDonald, as I said. Mavis Staples joined Sisters of Glory, and Mavis Staples is obviously one of the matriarchs, I think, of a lot of popular music and a lot of festival music, and her associations with the band and everything. The Allman Brothers Band played Traffic Play played, which I think is really, really awesome as well. And Santana took the stage as well. Additionally, we had Paul Rogers out there too, and as you said, Peter Gabriel was in the mix there as well.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love Peter Gabriel jumping in there. It's so good.
Yeah,
I really would have enjoyed seeing Santana in his day, because I remember at one point I was, when I was younger and I was, didn't know anything about who the best guitarists were. I was told Santana. I was told Santana was the best guitar player of all time, and I know people do believe that. I mean, there's so many good players, but maybe he is.
Yeah, I mean, Carlos Santana, and there's been a lot of turnover in his group Santana, but I mean, Carlos Santana is just incredible.
And let's be honest, what was your first intro to Santana?
I was gonna say he made a Grammy award-winning song with Rob Thomas called "Smooth," an absolute smash hit.
Well, doesn't he also have a song with Nickelback? That I
think are you talking about that?
Into the Night?
That really weird. Oh, was he on that too?
Yeah, I was positive.
Into the Night. Yes, it is Santana featuring Chad Kroeger. Holy fuck!
That was like. I want to say that. Dude, I don't know if that was my intro to Santana,
Rob Thomas and with Chad Kroeger,
and they slapped.
That is unbelievable.
Dude, I can hear it. I'm going to listen to it after this. I can hear it in my head, and I'm excited to.
Dude,
that's a good song.
Are you also aware in 2010, Ethan, Santana is the man.
He's the
man.
And
he's the man. His band are the men, and he is the man. 2010, Santana put out an album, a compilation album called Guitar Heaven, the greatest guitar classics of all time.
Yes.
And can I just read some of these? This is important.
Yeah. So, I've seen it. I've looked at these before.
So we've got a cover of "Whole Lotta Love" by Zeppelin, featuring Chris Cornell with Santana. Mm-hmm. We've got a Stones cover, "Can't You Hear Me Knockin'," featuring Scott Weiland. "Sunshine of Your Love," which I think is Cream, with Rob Thomas. "Photograph," I think the Def Leppard song, maybe, I don't know, featuring Chris Daughtry. Nos covering "Back in Black." Riders on the Storm with Chester Bennington. Little Wing with Joe Cocker, which is really cool. But the crown jewel is a cover of Creedence Clearwater Revival's "Fortunate Son" with Santana with Scott Stapp on vocals. And all of this is available on Spotify, so go and check it out. But Santana... that album has to be... that's the cameo event of the year. This is the greatest hidden gem.
It's unbelievable. I think we've talked about this before when we sent it back and forth, because they're just ridiculous. The names that pop up there, Nas and obviously Stapp, Cornell, and
dude, the fact that Scott Stapp, Nas, and Yo-Yo Ma is on there too.
Yeah.
Come on.
Is Santana one of those guys? If Santana asked you to be on the song, you say yes.
Yeah, you have to. He's one of the greatest guitar players of all time. I think you have to.
Was he that guy that's just dude, everybody loved him? I don't think no one dislikes him.
I think he was that guy. I totally think he was that guy.
There's probably people listening out there that are just upset that we even are confused at the fact that he should have his due. Maybe we don't know enough about him.
Yeah, so we can go back and watch Carlos Santana and Santana's set from Woodstock '94. I think I'm going to have to do that. But before I do that, I'm definitely going to go spin that Guitar Greats album. Listen to some covers.
Oh, yeah.
But
what the best part about...
what is?
So the best part about the whole lineup?
What's
no
that?
Guns N' Roses.
No Guns N' Roses. Thank the Lord that they turned it down.
Yeah, they turned it down because of internal problems. Slash was there. I think he was there on Sunday. He showed up for something.
He's always there. Why does he need the hat?
He doesn't. I don't know. It's a safety blanket.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, so no Guns N' Roses. I said no Alice in Chains. There was talks about pursuing Nirvana, but they pulled out of Lollapalooza, and
Kurt was no longer alive by August of '94, obviously, as well.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then there was no talk about Pearl Jam, right? And then we talked about this beforehand. There's nothing.
I didn't discover anything.
Does that surprise you? That there was no
But
I
also,
mean,
1994, that was a pretty tenuous time for Pearl Jam, coming off the heels of Vitalogy. Dave was leaving the band, and a lot of Jeff and Ed. There was just a lot going on there. So I don't know that would have gone down.
mm-hmm. I mean, you know, I mean, how about Soundgarden? Do you think they were asked?
Right. I don't know. It's interesting.
Kind of interesting.
Yeah. I mean, Primus got the nod before any of those bands, I guess. So it is interesting. But I think from day 3, the one standout for me obviously has to be Green Day. I think this set did so much for them. I think it had a notable impact on the success of their newest album, which at the time was Dookie. One of the greats of the era. My favorite Green Day album. That one and the first album that they did back in like 1991 or something. But yeah, dude, this set is pretty great. And it's just Green Day, you know, it's who I picture them to be, especially at the time. It was crazy.
Other than the high school video of them playing that we posted a bunch, this set of them throwing mud and laying on the ground, and it was one of the best things to post and to show, because it's so unique. I mean, it's one of those concert videos and moments you just like can't believe happened, and you're just like, of course it was Green Day. Of course it was, Dirnt got absolutely, he got slammed to the ground. Yeah. He got bodied and had to have some dental work done. And like, it's one of those crazy like stories that, it's like, of course it was Green Day. I don't know. It just goes with the lore of these bands and stuff,
Yeah, exactly. I would be remiss if I did not mention that Bob Dylan also performed on that third day, who notably was not in attendance in 1969. So glad that he was able to make it there. Obviously a festival giant in his own right, pissing everybody off at the local to me Newport Folk Festival, which just happened this past weekend, and I always forget to make arrangements to go. I missed a pretty good festival this past weekend. I'm kind of upset about it.
And I would be remiss if we didn't mention that the Spin Doctors also on day 3.
Thank God.
Two princes,
you imagine
baby.
you've been living out in the mud for 3 days. Like the supply lines are running thin. Like you're running out of water. Like you definitely have some sort of infection in both of your eyes. And somebody turns to you like, "Hey man, who are you here to see?" I'm here to see the Spin Doctors. There was 350,000 people. There was somebody out there who was there to see the Spin Doctors.
100%. Especially like these guys. I mean, these guys are going to be big. I'm not sure when they were. I don't know when they hit their height.
Yeah, I'm not an MD of the Spin Doctors for sure.
But you gotta love them.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, man, Woodstock '94. It's mud and a whole lot of good music. Yeah.
So I want to know,
would you have gone to it?
Well, here's a better question. If the 50th anniversary happened, were you planning on going to that?
I remember when they announced it, you and I were talking about it.
Our buddy Backton was I think he was putting it on.
That's right.
I think he was like a part of it, because I mean, he really, really wanted to happen, obviously.
Yeah. It's so crazy.
Would you have gone to that?
Yeah, I would have tried.
The Chili Peppers.
I would have looked into it. Yeah, dude. Like, it's nothing that like I wouldn't. I feel like going to one of these things, I couldn't just be like, yeah, I'm gonna go. Like, I would need like a contingent of people to go. So like, I would have been tagging you in to go. So like, if you're in, we all have to come to an agreement. One thing that's
hard when there's.
Yeah.
I was gonna say for the 50th, it's hard when there's like, okay. And my question was gonna be so this was like the way this one went. Like, it should have been a foreshadowing for how 99 went.
Yes.
Right. I mean, this was an absolute mess. It was muddy. It was like whatever. And, I can't believe that they ran it back 5 years later, and they did. I mean, I can believe it.
Well, that one was even more poorly planned, but when there's money to be made, people will do anything.
Right. So then you got to think like the 50th anniversary. I mean, I guess if I remember correctly, there was not a lot of interest, which is surprising. And I feel like if they would have, you kind of just got to go through with it. And then you'd imagine that it would kind of, history repeats itself. So, Woodstock is going to Woodstock, Woodstock,
Planning and logistics hampered, pretty much all of these festivals, including the 50th one. I remember there was an issue with funding, and there was an issue with like permitting, and like the site that they wanted wasn't up to par, and like wasn't going to get approved to have that many people, and like there were some last ditch plans, if I remember correctly, to move it to like RFK Stadium or something and like have like a smaller thing, but then like by that point all of the talent had pulled out, so it's like, what do you have even? I have to say though, if something like this were to happen now, like in particular like a Mudstock, 350,000 people, Ethan, could you imagine how many phones would get lost in that mud?
Oh my God, it's true.
I don't think people would act like that now. I don't think they would go into the mud because their phones. I think that's how different things are.
Yeah.
People would think twice about hopping in because they're going to ruin their phone.
Yeah,
I would think twice. I'd be I don't want to ruin. Phones are expensive.
It's crazy to think that none of those people had phones in their pockets.
Yeah. It's so funny too because like we get comments all the time, like we post. Obviously, we're fucking Grunge Bible. We post a lot of videos from the early 90s, and like every time, it never fails, a big crowd. Somebody will always comment unironically,
no phones.
Look at that, no phones. And like, dude, if they had phones then, every one of those fuckers would have had them out. They all would have had them out. They just didn't have them.
No phones, guys.
Yeah. Like, it doesn't make you morally superior to my generation, which grew up with phones. You just didn't have them. If you had them, you'd be fucking using them too. Like, I hate those comments so much. I hate it.
So funny, dude.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, would I wanted, like, that stuff is definitely really intrigues me. I mean, I love music. I love the idea of a couple of days, but
if I had a group to go, I would totally.
If I had a group to go, I do think I would really enjoy it. But
we would like be able to get a
when
group.
The 50th, yeah, oh yeah, it would have been a lot of fun. But then you think, like I said, the 50th, like you nut up and go. It's like, oh, I got to travel, and you make whatever excuses. But I think we'd find a way.
Yeah, I'll just have to.
If they have one,
I was gonna say we'll have to wait. Have to wait for Woodstock 100. I'll be 70. I'll be like 70, 75, and you'll be 77.
Jeez, that'll be something.
We'll be there. Woodstock 100. Oh man. Well,
but I like I said, I was surprised. It was not surprised, but it's just one of those things where, like each time it just kind of got worse and got more explosive and whatnot, and they still kind of went through with it. And I want to say you can't predict that, but at the same time, like, you can. So maybe it's a good thing it didn't happen in 19.
Yeah. It's very much like shocked Pikachu emoji or meme. It's like, can you believe that this thing didn't go well? Oh my God, I can't. But I'm glad we can look back on them, and there's certainly some killer music that was put on and killer music that was made. Those 3 days in August of 1994. So I believe that will just about do it. Our closing thoughts, the verdict is in. We would have gone to this, and we would go if it happened again. But if you're still listening to us at this point, we thank you. We hope you find us marginally entertaining. We encourage you to support us in a way that fits your lifestyle and your thoughts about us. Listen to us, leave a review, share us with a friend, buy some merchandise, or join the Patreon. All of those things you can do through your streaming service platform, either through the platform itself or just by looking at the show notes. As always, we love any and all feedback that we get. We've gotten some cool emails and messages as it relates to the show, so keep those coming. Also would like to thank our producer, Drew McFadden, for all of his work. He's making this thing happen, and his life is made a little more difficult with the quality of these audio files that we're sending while Ethan's in Lithuania. The snowball is back. We don't have the fancy microphone overseas, but it's trusty. It got us through like 117 episodes, so old faithful rides again. But Ethan, I say before we push our luck with this Lithuanian wireless internet, public access internet, what do you say we get some songs of the week and get the hell out of here?
I'm in.
All right.
And it's only fitting that if we're going to do a Mudstock episode, that I'm going to go with Paper Lanterns by Green Day. Just the song that started it all.
Dude.
And it's just worth a play. And honestly, dude, Green Day, every time I really like Green Day. Drew, our producer, is a huge Green Day. We saw him live. He's a huge Green Day guy. He got me into it, I'm assuming. So I like coming back to them and listen to Duke here, listen to some of the old stuff. And then also like Uno Dos Tres, like 3 albums that they released together or back to back. I mean, they're cool. They're a good band.
Green Day's cool. In the same
Green
way,
Day's cool shit.
same way a couple of weeks ago we were talking, and like when Petey was saying that Plans was like the biggest thing amongst his friends when it came out, that was American Idiot for me. All of my friends, we were all obsessed with that when that came out. We were in like 4th grade or something. I remember the thing was huge.
Yeah.
Green Day gets a seal of approval for me. I have a CD copy of Dookie, actually. I might put it in the car today.
Heck yeah, dude. Yeah, I'm going with that. How about you, Chris?
I'm gonna go with my infatuation of the day. I'm going to the Rollins Band. I'm gonna choose the song that I mentioned. So threefold here. I mentioned in the podcast. I posted it right before we started to record, and it will be my song of the week. It is called "Right Here Too Much" by the Rollins Band, and as far as I can tell, it was released on their album called "Waiting." And it's WEIGHTING, like waiting as in wait, and the album artwork is a nice little plate, like one of those old York 45-pound plates, the Rusty Boy. Oh yeah, so that's gonna be my song of the week. So we've got two from a couple of the bands that performed at Woodstock '94. So that's some good suggestions for you all to listen to.
Awesome. Well, that does it for episode 124. I believe we're gonna have one more next episode. One more European recording to happen. I think
we'll just have to unless we do something different for it.
Oh yeah, dude, cigarettes. I mean, that might be the topic. There's lots to talk about with cigarettes.
We're storyboarding an idea for a cigarette-centric episode. So we'll see if we can make that happen.
We're gonna smoke the entire episode.
Yeah, we're just gonna rate cigarettes.
Yeah. All right, Chris, we did it. We didn't have any problems.
I don't know how we just did that. The Wi-Fi was pristine that whole time.
Yes, holy dude. We clicked play, and it was like we just pitched the perfect game. You know, that was like I think I can't remember the man's name. You probably remember who was totally drunk and hungover for the baseball game and pitched
David Wells pitching a no-hitter.
Pitched the 15th no-hitter of all time.
That was us. Yeah, because like, dude, like for everyone listening, like
that's how we are, dude. We went out and party. We're drunk right now.
Exactly. So for the 20 minutes previous to pressing play, I could not see or hear Ethan on the Zoom call, but we
were FaceTiming.
Yeah, nothing worked, but we disengaged, we re-engaged, and we just pitched the perfect game. So I hope you enjoyed the episode. Ethan, it's about time for you to get to bed over there in Lithuania. I got to go to the gym, probably listen to some Henry Rollins while I'm there. I hope you all are having a great day, and I can't wait to talk to you this time next week. So have a great week. Rock and roll. Stay heavy.
I need to attack in war too, Chris.
Dude. You got it. Yeah, the Clash of Clans war.
The Clan War League is upon us. Yeah, there's a lot going on.
I only got 1 star. It was tough. I attacked the town hall down too. But these guys are guys are machines, Ethan. It's bad. But that's all we can do is do our best. So in the meantime, we'll be doing our best until we're right back here with you next week for the next episode of the Grunge Bible Podcast.
Thank you, everybody. Stay safe, rock and roll, and again, we'll be here next week. So hang in there.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll.